Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. In this video, we are looking at the MLB slate for today. We have a 10-game slate for Wednesday. I'll also be touching on the PGA picks for tomorrow. I'll have a video on that right after this one, so stay tuned if you're going to be playing some PGA tomorrow. But let's get into this slate. Pretty crazy slate yesterday. A lot of the pitchers ended up being big disappointments. Flaherty got hurt and also gave up some big home runs. And then we saw Burns struggle a bit. And then the Angels went off, but it was mainly due to the bottom of the order. So Ohtani wasn't critical, even though they scored like a million runs. But let's get into this one. As always, appreciate it via the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Looking at the totals today, it is pretty clear which are the main teams to target. We have a ton of good pitching options on the slate, so I'm not really looking to play anybody from the Rays, play anybody from the Orioles, even though I rarely ever do that. Play anybody from other teams such as the Reds, the Padres, even like the Dodgers have kind of a tough matchup. I mean, you can go to Pollock against a lefty, you can go to Turner, Pujols at only 21, and then even the Brewers have a semi-tough matchup. Like Castillo's been really good the last 2 months after he started off really bad. So mainly looking at the Boston Red Sox, the Cleveland Indians, throw in a couple of the Rangers if you wanted to, just because they're so cheap. Nate Lau coming off of a 5-for-5 outing. We have Adolis Garcia still with a bunch of pop. Those two are two that I would like to play a little bit of if you play a bunch of teams. And then we see the Marlins making going with a young pitcher, Edward Cabrera, making his debut. He has a ton of strikeout stuff. In Miami, I think he makes sense as a cheap SP2 option. And then those are the main teams to kind of stack, even like the Rays. The Robbie Ray and Giolito squaring off here. I'm not looking to stack those teams. So going back to DraftKings here, pitching-wise, I will probably pick between one of the studs. You can go with a two-stud approach if you wanted to. But for me, I at least want to get to one of these guys, and I think that person is going to be Buehler. He's $9,700 going up against the Padres here. He's just been so consistent the whole year, making a case for Cy Young, especially with Zach Wheeler struggling a little bit in his last couple of starts. Buehler just continues to put the Dodgers on his back. Great starts the last few, goes very deep into games, and the Padres do have a good offense, but they've been struggling recently. They are quickly sliding in the wild card standings. They're still at the top, but won't be long if they continue to play like that before they see themselves outside looking in. But I gotta like Buehler. Woodruff looks good. Zach Wheeler looks good. They all kind of look similar, but I'd like this little bit of savings that you get on Walker Buehler. I think you can pair Buehler with Ohtani if you wanted to against the Orioles. You can pair him with Castillo or Zach Wheeler if you wanted to double stack. If you wanted to go to a cheap pitcher, I think Giolito kind of makes some sense at 83. It's a guy with a bunch of upside. But I don't mind taking a shot on Edward Cabrera here. He's $5,000, so just $1,000 above the minimum for a pitcher. But he gives you a bunch of strikeout stuff if his numbers from AAA are in any indication. He struck out 48 in just 29 innings, 3.68 ERA. Good strikeout stuff. This Washington lineup isn't super scary, minus a couple of guys like Juan Soto, maybe throwing Ryan Zimmerman. Overall, there's a bunch of strikeouts to be had in that lineup at home. I think he will have a pretty good start. Only thing that could scare you a little bit is that he gives up a good amount of walks, so if he struggles with his command, that could be an issue and not last deep into game. But at 5,000, even if he goes 5 innings, that should be good enough. So going with those two leaves you with a bunch to spend on your bats, and that's exactly what I want to do on a slate where the Red Sox look really, really good. So we'll start it off here at second base with Kike Hernandez, who has been hitting the ball very hard the last few games. He had a ninth-inning home run last night, which was an absolute bomb. Overall, this Twins bullpen has struggled all year, and the Red Sox should hopefully be able to get to Bailey Ober a little bit in the start of the game. And I expect a guy like Kike batting leadoff to probably get 5 at-bats again like he did last night. He's just been really good at home, batting .263, 8 home runs. And overall, this lineup is just super stacked top to bottom now that Schwarber is in there. At third base, don't mind going to Rafael Devers, but if you wanted to go with another comparable guy, that is Jose Ramirez, $5,700. He's been on a tear recently. 326, 4 home runs in his last 10, 5 doubles as well. So 10 of his last 14 hits have been extra base hits, so he's really hitting the ball hard. Gives you speed on the base paths as well. 16 stolen bases on the season, going up against a lefty. And going up against this Rangers bullpen, I'm expecting the Indians to bounce back from their loss last night. And a guy like Ramirez, who is super important for like tournaments, just because he gives you stolen base upside, also with the ability to hit a home run, even get multiple hits. So he just has such a high ceiling, which you kind of need in these big tournaments. In the outfield, another Red Sox bat that is very affordable is Alex Verdugo. He's $3,500. Been starting to hit the ball well. 3 straight 2-hit games for him. A couple of doubles last night. Hasn't struck out the last couple of games. That's a good sign. Overall, now that they sent Duran to AAA, Verdugo is going to be continues. I mean, there's not really risk of him sitting any day. He probably bat like 6th in the lineup, but their lineup is stacked right now with Renfroe hitting home runs left and right. Schwarber, Martinez, Verdugo, Devers, Bogarts. Just super fun lineup to watch. Got to be one of the better ones in the American League. Them, the Yankees in the American League are probably 2 of the best. Got to throw the White Sox in the mix and a couple others. But got to like Verdugo at that price tag. He's just super affordable. And then we'll round it out with, you can go a bunch of different ways. We'll probably go back to first base and plug in Jared Walsh. Wanted to go to a Angel who is going to be hitting right in the middle of the lineup here. Probably will continue to wreak havoc on Baltimore. This team has now lost 19 in a row, and there's no real relief in sight going up against Ohtani tonight. Jared Walsh struggled a little bit overall. Like, he started off the season hitting so many home runs, and ever since he got hurt, he's been slow, but 43 again, lefty-righty matchup here. Great ballpark to hit in. If he connects on one, won't be surprised if it leaves the park. And probably will get multiple at-bats, like 5 at-bats, if the stack goes nuts again. Only downside of an Angel stack is Ohtani's pitching, so you can't play him in a stack. But maybe you can play him at pitcher and hope he gets like 30. But overall, that is it for DraftKings. Let's take a look at FanDuel. All right, FanDuel is a bit of a different story. The pitching is pretty different. The pricing is really different than it is on DraftKings. You have Ohtani is the most expensive pitcher at 11.6, so right off the bat, that I would rather go to some of the other cheaper guys like Wheeler, BUEHLER, even like Woodruff is so cheap on FanDuel. He's only 10.3. The Reds have one of the lowest totals on the slate. He's even cheaper than Robbie Ray, so don't really understand that. Woodruff struggled a little bit recently. Some of these pitchers have kind of hit a wall as they've pitched most of the season. Like Woodruff kind of somewhat hit a wall last few starts. Zach Wheeler hit a wall a little bit the last couple starts. But I got to like him here. It's a good matchup against the Reds, a team that is a lot of lefties, but they strike out a good amount, and they're dealing with a little bit of injuries. And then they did price up Cabrera 73 compared to 5K, so I don't really have too much interest on him. On FanDuel, I'd rather go to probably pay up a little bit for like Snell if I not Snell, like maybe Walker if I wanted to, Taijuan Walker, or go with Cueto if he's coming back. But FanDuel is really easy to pay up at pitcher just because you do have a lot of value most times, and do get a good amount of value here with a couple of these Red Sox bats. Kike is pretty affordable at only $3,400. Verdugo also only $3,400, and then I think the Indians will be able to put up some runs today. A guy that's been red hot for them has gone overlooked is Ahmed Rosario, stolen bases. It's a little bit of speed for him, but overall he's been hitting a lot of... he has 4 of his last 5 been 2-hit games. He hits home runs, he gets on base with walks, and he can steal bases if he needs to. Hasn't really done that too much recently. But overall, that is about it for the video. Thank you for watching. Best of luck today, and I'll see you all next time.